Hello, Lovebugs. Welcome to another episode of Girls Night with Carley Doxtator. I'm your host, Carley Doxtator. And if you've been here for a while, you know that this podcast, all my coaching, what I post on Instagram, TikTok, all the stuff, we're all about female empowerment. And female empowerment is amazing. Females, women should be empowered. But I've also seen a lot of rhetoric lately around men and specifically hating on men and demonizing men and blaming men for everything that's going wrong. And really, at the end of the day, that is just not fair because yeah, sure, there are really shitty guys. That is a truth. But there's also really shitty women out in the world. And on the flip side, there's also really great, amazing guys out there. And there's also really great, amazing women. So it is not fair to blame everything on men. And specifically, I see this a lot in our relationships, saying how men are shitty and they're cheaters and they're liars and they're blah, 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 blah. Really, it's not fair to just blame men because when it comes to a relationship, there are two people involved in that relationship. So there are two people contributing to the problems. And there's a whole lot of different reasons and a lot of different problems that could surface in that area. But at the end of the day, both parties are contributing to that relationship and they both contributed to how it got to the point that it was at. So I wanted to make a whole episode around that. So today we are going to be talking about how women are contributing to their own relationships failing, what women are doing wrong when it comes to dating as well. So I'm excited for this one. If that intro kind of triggered you, then this certainly is the episode for you. So I hope you stay to listen and learn a little something and hopefully you're able to reflect in on yourself as well. So let's get into the episode. Hi, everyone. Life can get a little crazy, so let's talk about it. If you're ready to dive deeper, talk about what really matters, and feel a little more empowered, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Carley Doxtator. I'm a life coach, baker, dog mom of two, and you're always there for you, gal pal. And I'm so excited to have you join me. So grab your fuzzy socks, put on your comfy pants, and let's have girls' night. So, one of the major things that I see women doing in dating and what's kind of sabotaging them from the start is that they are sacrificing their dignity and their self-respect in exchange for being chosen and like seen in some sort of way. But the thing is, you have to respect yourself more than you want to have some mediocre guy choose you. Like, period, period. You have to respect yourself more. And here's the thing, as women collectively raise their standards for how they are treated, men will also collectively be forced to step up and step into the men that they are capable of being. And of course, there's going to be some guys that take this to the extreme right. So there's going to be, in some instances, some guys that build a robot or something instead of stepping up. Obviously, we've already seen that happen. I've seen news stories about it. I think a lot of us have heard about that news story, how the guy built a robot girlfriend and she also ended up dumping him because he was kind of a jerk. So maybe they should take that as a lesson. But even in that case, like if there's men that are going to do that, then good riddance to those men because do you really want to be with a man who is willing to build an entire robot instead of just respecting you a little bit more and listening to what you have to say? I think not. Like seriously, I think not. Move on next. You do not want men like that in your life. Me saying all this is not about changing men. It's not about changing the men that we're even seeing that we're having issues with. This is about believing them when they show you who you are. And it is about knowing when to walk away to find a different man who is more compatible with you, with your standards, with your morals, and with your values. And this is really important. Respect is so important when it comes to relationships and especially early dating because if a man does not respect you, he will not make a good husband. If a man does not respect you, he will not make a good father. If a man does not respect you, then those hard times that everybody is always going to face in relationships and with their families and in the future, those hard times are going to be very, very hard. And Honestly, if a man does not respect you, then you will never be able to trust that man. And it is on both of you. So if a man does not respect you, he doesn't respect you for some reason, that's a him thing. But why are you staying with a man who does not respect you? You deserve to be with a man that does respect you and does honor you and does cherish you. At least speaking from personal experience, I could honestly I could fall in love with pretty much anybody if I'm going to be honest. Like love is not the problem here. But and that is the exact reason why respect is so important because if you are going to love somebody, you need so much more than love for that relationship to last long term and for that to be a healthy relationship long term that can be your safe space and your safe harbor. Me going on about this too, this is not about perfection either. This is not about raising your standards to a point where you are literally cutting everybody out of the game because you are too afraid to face your own demons on the inside. This is not about that. This is not about perfection. No man is going to be perfect, but no woman is going to be perfect either. So it's really about that balance between having your standards, being able to stand up for your boundaries, respecting that, but also giving people grace to be human and giving people grace to mess up, right? Because people are going to mess up. No matter who you're with, there's going to be issues. People are going to trip up. It's just a matter of what the trip up is and also what you both do to repair the relationship after that trip up. Which, on this note, too, my mantra in dating, which I invite you to adopt this mantra yourself, is respect me or die. And that sounds a little intense, but like that is truly how I feel. If a man is not respecting me, then I am not going to give him any more of my time because I don't think he deserves any more of my time if he doesn't respect me. He certainly doesn't deserve access to my heart if he doesn't respect me. And this is a really good starting point for you in dating. So, for me, something that I have had to work through when I was first starting to date, when I was younger, I would really jump into the physical stuff really quickly. And for me, that was really detrimental to my mental health because, as I said, I could fall in love with anybody. And just how women work, our happy hormones release, our love hormones release when we make love with someone, when we orgasm. So when you are sleeping with someone, you automatically have a deeper connection with them. So if you are going to be jumping to that level, especially when you're someone that's so sensitive like me, I get all these feelings for this person, and then those feelings weren't reciprocated. They didn't actually like me in the same way. Our values didn't align. So it just led to a lot of heartbreak and a lot of hard times and a lot of pain that really could have been avoided if I took the time to evaluate the person and if we actually were compatible in other ways first. This is no shame to people who are going through that journey themselves too. I would invite you to kind of reevaluate where you're at and kind of question yourself about why you feel the need to jump into bed with somebody right away. Obviously, like if you're in your hot girl summer, then go out, do it, have fun. I'm all about it. But if you are really wanting to have a long-term, committed, stable relationship with someone, then really take a look at your own patterns in that department as well, because it's just something that for me, I have found when I hold off on the physical aspect of it, it makes it a lot easier for me to find partners that are more aligned with who I am and more aligned with what I'm looking for and who are willing to respect my boundaries when I set those boundaries. And really, people just respect me a lot more because I'm willing to put those boundaries and protect myself in that way. Speaking about boundaries, another thing that I have noticed that women do in relationships and dating is that they repeatedly let someone cross their boundaries over and over and over and over and over again. And often it'll be the same boundary that they have set over and over and over and over and over again. And they just tell themselves it's because it's fine. Like it's fine. But it is not fine. It is not fine for somebody to cross your boundaries repeatedly. And if we really love and care about somebody, we are going to make changes and we're going to make efforts to make sure that we are doing things to help support their mental and physical well-being. And crossing boundaries is something that directly violates that concept of safety and of trust because you're showing that person that you do not care about that boundary when you cross it repeatedly over and over and over and over again. So because of that, obviously when somebody crosses our boundaries, we can feel it. We have that icky like kind of tense feeling. Maybe we get a little bit angry, or like there's all these feelings that our body is telling us that we're feeling. That is your signal that a boundary is being crossed. And so if you are building up all of this resentment because your boundaries are constantly getting crossed, that is going to be so much more damaging to your relationship than if you had just set the boundary and stuck firm with it. And truly, if you are in a relationship with someone, as I said, like they hopefully will work on making changes. And sometimes those changes will be a little bit slower. Sometimes they'll slip up, sometimes they'll forget, but you will be able to see intentional effort to not make you feel that way again once you speak up and set that boundary in a kind and understanding way, right? So when we're setting boundaries, this is kind of a tangent. We have to do it in a way where people can actually receive that boundary. So my how I approach it is being kind but firm and just being straight to the point and blunt. That is the best way to get your boundaries across. So I'll give you an example. Recently, there was a guy that got my number. We were talking, we were texting, and then he randomly ghosted for 2 weeks, which for me, that's like a no bueno, right? Because to me, it's so important for a man to respect me and to respect my time. And to me, that just feels like I'm an afterthought when somebody does something like that. So he texted me. He ended up texting me, acting like the 2 weeks had not passed. Hi, Lovebug. I've got a juicy little gift for you. And if you've been feeling off, stuck in your head, or like your vibe just is not vibing lately, then this is for you. I created a free guide called The 3 Secrets to Creating a Magnetic Energy Shift right now. And it's exactly what you need to start shifting your energy instantly. These are the exact tools I use with my private coaching clients when they're ready to stop chasing and start attracting. We're talking powerful, we're talking practical, and yes, of course, we are talking a little bit woo, but in the best possible way. In the guide, you will learn how to clear energetic blocks, activate your most irresistible frequency, shift into receiving mode, and there's even a bonus secret on how to use your body language to instantly boost your confidence and presence. So if you're ready to feel like the version of you who turns heads, magnetizes opportunities, and walks through the world like the main character, then this is your sign. Head to the show notes and click the link to download your free copy. It is quick, it is powerful, and it is going to leave you feeling like, damn, I really am that girl. All right, let's get back into the episode. When I responded to him, when he responded finally after 2 weeks, when I responded, I acknowledged what he had said to me, but then immediately afterwards, I addressed the fact that he had disappeared for 2 weeks. So I'll tell you exactly what I said. So after I addressed what he had said to me, I said, I'm going to be honest, I thought I wasn't going to hear from you again. And then, of course, from there, he tried to backtrack and tried to compliment me. But at that point, it was like, I need to make sure that it is very clear that I do not like this happening. So I said, thank you for all the compliments. But the thing is, I find disappearing and reappearing without warning very unattractive. So is this going to be a pattern? That's it. Left it like that, left it very simple, straight to the point, very honest. And he said no. And then he asked me out on a date. But the thing is, with boundaries, like it is okay to be short and straightforward and to the point like that. And I think that is appreciated more than condescending language. It comes across better than being passive aggressive. And if you're not used to setting boundaries, this will take a little bit of practice, right? But my advice to you is just to lean into the feeling of discomfort that you're feeling, really pinpoint what that is, what you're feeling on the inside, and focus on that. Focus on how you're feeling and what you need in order to feel safe. Then you can work up from there with the boundaries. But the thing with boundaries, too, is that people in general just respect people a lot more when they are willing to stand up for themselves and stand up for their boundaries. And that is the same with relationships. Like, you do not want to lose respect for your partner, and you do not want your partner to lose respect for you. And one of the really easy ways to keep that respect going and flowing is to constantly, in little ways, stand up for your boundaries. And I think it's always best to just bring it up when you're feeling it, right? Like, obviously, there will be exceptions where maybe it'll be a better time to bring it up later. But in my experience, most of the time, it is most effective to bring it up in that moment when you're feeling it so you can address it head on right then and there without letting it fester. So the next thing I want to talk about what a lot of women do when it comes to relationships is that not all women, but a lot of women tend to jump to blaming their partners for all of the issues that are happening in their relationships instead of looking inward at their own contributions to those problems that are happening. So I did a post on Instagram and TikTok recently that talked about how if you constantly find yourself in shitty relationships, it is because either one, you're picking shitty partners, or two, you are a shitty partner. Most of the time, it's actually those things in tandem. Because if one person is being shitty and if you're still in that relationship, it's because there is something about you that is attracted to those shitty aspects of that relationship until you're able to heal and walk away. And when it comes to things like this, usually you're working in tandem to create this spiral and this cycle together. And usually both parties are contributing to that unhealthy cycle because if there is a healthy partner standing up and handling that situation in a healthy way, most often it is going to stop. So if that cycle is not stopping, it is usually because both partners in the relationship are contributing to that cycle. And truly, when it comes to blame, usually we blame other people for things when we are not ready to take a look at what's going on inwardly with ourselves. So we like to put the blame on them because that is easier to deal with and that is easier to handle than to reflect and say, like, oh, hey, I'm like showing up not in the best way, or this is really triggering me. This is bringing up this pain in me, and that pain is really painful and I don't want to feel it right now. So this is your fault. It is easier to blame somebody else than it is to take accountability for our own actions. But if your relationship is on the rocks, one of the biggest things that you can do to help save it is to start taking accountability for your actions and for the ways that you are contributing to the messy parts of your relationship. And when it comes to dating too, like it is really easy to say, "Ugh, there's no good men out there. Where are all the good men? They must all be taken. Like men are so shitty." But that is such a victim mindset, to be quite honest, because there are a lot of good guys out there. And lots of times when it comes to dating, we are just reliving patterns from our childhood. So we are either dating our mothers or our fathers. So I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's true. And because our subconscious minds are trying to make sense of that pattern that we experienced in childhood, but also it's because that pattern is familiar and it feels quote unquote safe to us because of the familiarity, even though it's something that we do not necessarily want for our lives. So, if you find yourself constantly blaming your partner or constantly blaming the dates that you're going on, I invite you to really take a deep look at yourself and how you are showing up in these relationships and what types of partners you are choosing. And I think something that will really help with that to really elevate your dating game and your relationship is to do a full audit of your values and your morals. Really write down everything that you are looking for in your life in general. Look down everything that you are looking for in a partner. And this can be physical, right? Obviously, but I think what's more important to focus on is those values, the morals, someone's character. Focus on those attributes a little bit more than the physical attributes because it is easy to use physical beauty as a cover up for a shitty personality. So when you are looking for a committed, lasting, stable relationship, it is those morals and those values and how somebody shows up in the world that is really going to matter the most. So take an audit again of just what you're looking for your life in general. Take an audit of what you are looking for in a partner, and then take an audit of yourself and how you are showing up in those ways. And be really honest with yourself. Like, if you are looking for a partner that is fit, are you yourself a fit person? Because usually, this is something that goes a little bit deeper than just looks, right? Like somebody who is physically fit is somebody that is dedicated to their health and their wellness. They are willing to make sacrifices in order to have that long-term gain and that long-term health. They are able to be dedicated to something even when they aren't motivated by it. So those are some underlying values that that person probably has. So really take a look at yourself and see if you also have those values because more likely than not, that person is going to be looking for somebody that also holds those values close to their heart. So be really honest with yourself because if you lie to yourself about this, then you are never going to find a partner that you actually feel safe and comfortable to be 100% yourself around. And then from there, once you do that audit, that's when we can really start making some really big changes, right? So when you look at your ideal life, when you look at your ideal partner, and when you look at where you're at right now, maybe there's a big gap, maybe there's a really small gap, but if there is a big gap, that's where we're able to put a game plan together and be like, hey, what areas am I in control of? What can I change about this right now? Where can I start making changes? Where can I start setting better boundaries? Where can I start being more dedicated to myself? Where can I start being more kind and more loving and more respectful? Where in my life can I start being more ambitious? Those are all things that are in your control and that you are able to change at any time, which is awesome. An important thing to note about that too, when you're dating and when you're looking for something long term, when you're not just looking for something fun anymore, you have to really hone in on your non-negotiables. So for me, a non-negotiable is that I want kids. So when I go on a date with someone and I learn that they don't want kids or they don't want to get married, then for me, it's not that they're a bad person. Usually they are really great people. It's just that it will not work because I know that I want kids. And at least at the age that I am, if somebody is saying that they don't want kids at this age, then I believe them. Like that is not something that I want to change about somebody because for me, it's really important to be with somebody not who just wants kids, but wants to be a father, who wants to be a husband. And those are two different concepts. So if that's not something that that person wants, I just move on to the next person until I find somebody who does want kids and who does want to be a husband. But you really have to hone in on those non-negotiables and you have to be willing to walk away when somebody does not meet them because you cannot change a person. People do not change unless they choose to change themselves. And usually when people are changing, it is for themselves. So if you go into a relationship thinking, I'll use the kids thing as an example, thinking, oh, like, they'll want kids down the road. Like I can convince them it'll be fine. Or if you even take it to an extreme where you accidentally get pregnant, which I think is an awful thing to do to somebody who doesn't want to be a parent, then you are setting both yourself and that person and that child up for a much harder life than they could have had if you had just found somebody who wanted that to begin with. So another thing, second to last thing that I wanted to talk about what I notice women doing when it comes to dating, when it comes to love and relationships, is that they are afraid to take up space, i.e., they are afraid to ask for what they want. And often, this is really kind of a society thing because often women are labeled the bitch or they're labeled aggressive when they're just standing up for themselves and asking for what they want. And this really does relate to boundaries, right? Like it is okay to stand firm in your boundaries as you should, but also you should be able to speak up and ask for what you want. Like it is okay for you to take up space. And I feel like part of this has to do with the fact that women used to be so oppressed. Like compared to where we were before, we have so much freedom in our lives today. But compared to where we were before, we had to be dependent on men. Like we had to in order to live and in order to survive and in order for our kids to survive. It was a necessity to be able to rely on a man. But these days, women have so much autonomy and women have so much freedom. We do not need that anymore. We do not need to water ourselves down. We do not need to make ourselves small just for our livelihood or for our safety or for our stability because we do have the freedom to create that for ourselves. And to be fair, I think it's a lot easier when you have a man by your side and you're doing it together. It's a lot more enjoyable. It's a lot funner to do it with somebody that you really love and care about. But at the end of the day, you do not have to settle for breadcrumbs. You do not have to settle for a man that doesn't treat you well. You do not have to make yourself smaller to fit in this little space when you were meant for a space that's big and giant and expansive just for your safety because you can create that safety yourself. And kind of related to that, and to wrap up everything, and this is something that I am also familiar with, but there are so many women that are scared to walk away. When you are scared to walk away, this leads to men taking you for granted. And I am number one offender of this, right, in my past because we cling on as women to the hope of what's better. It is really easy for us to see the potential in the man that we are seeing or the man that we love. But at the end of the day, if that man is not himself stepping up to meet that threshold that we know that he can meet, then nothing that we do, no amount of love, nothing that we do can force him to meet that threshold. It is a decision that he has to make himself to meet that threshold. And if you are scared to walk away, then that is just going to be so detrimental because you are going to be stuck in this situation that you are unhappy with, that you are not being treated well, and that you are just, again, building up that resentment and that bitterness towards your partner, which is not fair for them either because there are a lot of things that are going on in people's lives, both men and women, that prevent them from reaching their full potential. And sure, it could be argued that a lot of them are excuses. A lot of the excuses are very valid because it can take a lot of work to overcome some of the obstacles and some of the trauma that people face. So it is not fair for you to resent your partner and have all this bitterness towards your partner for being somebody that they physically cannot be. Because there are times in love that we really want to be the person that we know that our partner needs, but sometimes we just cannot get there. And it sucks. That feeling is really shitty. And so if you're there with your partner or with your spouse or with your boyfriend or when you're dating, like, one, I think this is a chance for a little bit of grace, but also if you guys have been having issues for a really, really long time and there has been no changes, then sometimes the kindest thing that you can do and the best thing that you can do for that person and for yourself is to walk away. Because if you are not the right match for each other, no matter how much you love each other, that means that there is a better match out there for both of you. There is somebody that is more compatible with where you're at in your life right now for both of you. That's not to say that you should just throw in the towel at any little obstacle that a relationship faces. I think the strongest relationships are relationships that have overcome really big obstacles together. They have stuck through it. They have talked. They have worked through it. They have relearned each other because you're always going to change throughout your lives. The strongest relationships are able to make it over those obstacles. But in order to make it over those obstacles, you have to be able to do it together. And sometimes people just are not at the place where they can do that with you. That sounds kind of sad, but again, the best thing that you can do is to let that person be that person. So it is so important to be able to walk away from a situation that is not good for you because it is going to be so much better for everybody involved in the long term, even if it feels really shitty in the short term. If you don't, you are forcing yourself into a life of mediocrity and pain and hurt when you could have this life that is flourishing and lovely and full of love and full of support. And you just don't want the first one. You don't want the life where you're with an abusive guy. You don't want the life where it's just fine. Like, what if this is your only life to live? You don't want it to be fine. You want it to be glorious, right? So I think that's all I got for you on this one. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I think this is a conversation that should be ongoing for everybody because it is so pertinent in our world today and because empathy is so needed and grace is so needed, but also boundaries and standing up for ourselves and having that autonomy at the same time is still so important. So I would love to continue the conversation. Let me know what you think. Send me a DM, send me an email, send me a message, comment, do whatever you need to do to keep the conversation going. But thanks so much, everybody. I will see you next week. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you liked what you heard, then go ahead and subscribe so you get updates with us every week. You can also follow us on Instagram at KRC Coaching. If you're interested in working one-on-one, then go ahead and visit our website, krccoaching.com, to book your first 30-minute session for free. All right, thanks so much, you guys. Love you. Bye.